is CNN.
Free at last. 2 more Western hostages are released from captivity in Lebanon.
After a weekend of worrying about a Wall Street slump, the stock market charts an upward trend. Hello, this is Newsday. I'm Lou Waters.
I'm Sharyl Attkisson. Briton Terry Waite and American Thomas Sutherland are reported safe in Damascus, Syria this hour, free after years of captivity in Lebanon. Their release by the Islamic Jihad is the latest success for the United Nations diplomatic drive to resolve the protracted Mideast hostage problem. Sutherland, who's now 60, was an academic at the American University of Beirut when he was kidnapped nearly 6.5 years ago. The joyous news of his release sadly coincides with the funeral of his father-in-law. Terry Waite, now 52, was in Beirut as the special envoy of the Archbishop of Canterbury when he dropped from sight January 20th, 1987. Waite, who'd gone to Lebanon seeking the release of Western hostages, spent 1,763 days in captivity. His release is something of a surprise. Analysts had considered him and U.S. hostage Terry Anderson to be the kidnappers' most valuable bargaining chips. Anderson is one of 5 Westerners still believed to be captive in Lebanon. The longest held of all the hostages, he was kidnapped March 16, 1985. The remaining Western hostages are U.S. citizens Joseph Sicipio and Alan Steen and German citizens Thomas Kempner and Heinrich Strubig.
Reaction to today's news from Beirut was jubilant in many quarters. British Prime Minister John Major said he hoped Terry Waite would make it back to Britain as soon as possible.
We now have every reason genuinely to believe that he is free and that he will soon be with us. And if that proves to be the case, it is very good news indeed, and we're absolutely delighted about it. We waited 5 years for this. It must have been a long and agonizing period, both for Terry Waite and for all those who know him, his family and his friends. I hope very soon we'll see the end of that. And if the reports are correct, he should be with us this evening, and I very much hope on his way home here tomorrow.
Thomas Sutherland's family experienced a weekend of sadness, then turned into a joyous Monday. Sutherland's father-in-law died Saturday in Ames, Iowa, but Sutherland's brother-in-law said his release is a wonderful thing.
I would bet that Tom will bounce back. Tom has a great sense of humor. He's a tough guy, and I think that if anybody could survive this and bounce back quickly, why, Tom could. And I think some of the reports out of Lebanon by people that have been released before have indicated that Tom has held up pretty well. Obviously, it's got to be a very, very tough thing. Mm-hmm. And so I expect it's going to take a while for him to readjust. But I got a lot of confidence in him. He's a great guy, and he'll do fine.
We're so incredibly excited, and it's so ironic that it happened after my grandfather died. But it's a festive time now. We know that my grandpa would be so excited about Tom's release, so that's something for us to be happy about, too.
Tom Sutherland's wife, Jean, was on her way to Iowa for the funeral, but now is hurrying on to Germany for the reunion with her husband. Investors, big and small, are keeping a wary eye on Wall Street today, as you might imagine. The first trading day after Friday's 120-point rout in the Dow. CNN's Beverly Schuch joins us now from the New York Stock Exchange with the latest on the markets.
Lou, there is no apparent repercussion today to Friday's 120-point plunge. Investors, however, are flocking to recession-resistant stocks, the food and drug stocks. Merck, for example, a big loser on Friday, today is up 1.5 points. And after an uncertain morning with a gain of 23 points and a loss of 11, the Dow Industrials have stabilized. They are slightly higher, smaller stocks still suffering. There has been no signs of a rally there today. Right now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 8 points to 29.51. Volume, it remains very heavy, but has stabilized as well. 178 million shares have traded hands so far. And on the broader and secondary markets, all 4 key indicators are mixed. Only the S&P 500 is higher right now. We'll be back at the bottom of the hour with more on today's market action. I'm Beverly Schuch, reporting live from the New York Stock Exchange.
White House spokesman Marlin Fitzwater predicts that a bill to limit credit card interest rates will never make it to the president's desk. Friday, the Senate overwhelmingly endorsed a plan to impose a floating ceiling on credit card rates. But now some members of Congress are backing off. A House committee postponed consideration of the measure today. House Speaker Thomas Foley says the legislation is being delayed due to concerns that it could have unexpected consequences. And there was more discussion on the Senate floor today.
there's been a lot of gnashing of the teeth, and a lot of bankers have been calling in, some probably with justification. Some big banks saying they may go out of business, they have to fold up the bank. A lot of that probably is scare tactics, but there may be a certain amount of truth, and probably Congress should not try to involve itself in the marketplace. But I must say, I think there were a number of votes cast for this credit card rate cap to sort of send some of the banks, some of the bigger banks, a signal to help us get together a banking bill.
Bankers are contending that a cap on interest rates would force credit card companies to close the accounts of many middle and lower income people. Some analysts blame the rate cap proposal for Friday's stock market plunge. But both Foley and the White House say that it was only one of a number of factors, including the sluggish economy.
David Duke, fresh from his defeat in the runoff for Louisiana governor, apparently has not completely ruled out running for president. Duke told CNN's Charles Ziwi today that he's put some feelers out.
A number of people have contacted me about forming an exploratory committee, and I'm going to let them do that at this point. I still have no definite plans to run any primaries. We'll have to see how it shakes out, who runs. But I think we need somebody in the party, whether it's myself or Patrick Buchanan, to keep George Bush straight.
Duke told CNN earlier he believes Pat Buchanan would be an appealing candidate because of Buchanan's conservative message. Buchanan of CNN's Crossfire reportedly has considered running but has not declared himself a candidate. Still to come on Newsday, we'll tell you why tough economic times are having a baby may not mix for a growing number of working women. Also ahead, the latest warning about toys parents won't want Santa to bring down the chimney this Christmas.
Later, taming the great whale or leaving it wild and wonderful. And putting Chicago police on notice for squad car spread. Newsday continues right after this.
We're Jerseys, and for 89 years, we've been making the finest sportswear in America. Our clothes aren't high fashion